Today, I want to walk you through 7 practical ways to support your health if you've been diagnosed with kidney damage. And the very first and most important step is reducing salt intake. But before we get into that, it's important to understand what your kidneys actually do and why they matter so much for your survival. You have 2 kidneys, and they act like your body's natural filtration system. Their main job is to clean your blood. They sit in your lower back on both sides of your spine, just beneath the rib cage. If you place your hands around your sides and move them toward your back, you'll roughly locate where they are. Each kidney works nonstop, every second of the day. All of your blood flows through them, and as it passes through, the kidneys carefully regulate what stays in your body and what gets removed. One of their most important roles is balancing electrolytes. These are essential minerals circulating in your blood, including sodium, potassium, chloride, calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium. Even though you may not think about them often, your body absolutely depends on them. Every single cell relies on these minerals to function properly, stay active, and keep you alive. Your kidneys constantly adjust these levels to make sure everything stays in a healthy range. This balance is critical for normal body function, and without it, cells simply can't operate correctly. Another major function of the kidneys is managing protein in your blood. Protein is something most people associate with muscle building and nutrition, and that's true, but it also has another essential job inside your bloodstream. Protein helps keep fluid inside your blood vessels through a force called oncotic pressure. In simple terms, protein acts like a sponge that holds water inside the circulation. When protein levels are normal, fluid stays where it belongs. But if protein drops too low, fluid starts leaking out into surrounding tissues. That's when you may see swelling, especially in the lower legs and ankles. In severe cases, pressing on the skin leaves a dent that slowly fills back in. While heart problems can also cause this, kidney damage is another major reason. When the kidneys fail to retain enough protein, it escapes into the urine instead, and fluid begins to accumulate in the body. Healthy kidneys are supposed to hold on to protein and only allow waste and excess fluid to pass into urine. When protein starts showing up in the urine, it can sometimes make it look foamy or frothy, which is a warning sign that something is not right with the filtering system. Inside each kidney, there are thousands of tiny filtering units. These are called glomeruli. You can think of each one like a microscopic sieve attached to a blood vessel. Blood flows into these structures, and a portion of it is filtered. Each kidney contains around 500,000 of these tiny filters, meaning together you have about 1 million working units filtering your blood continuously. When blood enters these filters, roughly 20% of the fluid is separated out to become urine, while about 80% remains in the bloodstream along with blood cells and useful substances that your body still needs. That filtered fluid eventually travels down into the bladder, where it collects until you feel the urge to urinate. This process happens continuously, 24 hours a day, whether you're awake or asleep. Because of this system, your kidneys control blood volume, electrolyte balance, and protein regulation all at once. That's why they are so essential for overall health. If they become damaged, the entire body can be affected. Now the question is, how does kidney damage happen? One of the most common causes is high blood pressure. Hypertension doesn't just affect the heart and brain, it also damages the delicate blood vessels inside the kidneys. Since the kidneys are made up of millions of tiny vessels, high pressure can slowly wear down the filtering system itself. Another major cause is type 2 diabetes. High blood sugar over time damages the lining of blood vessels throughout the body, including those in the kidneys. This leads to gradual loss of filtering ability. It doesn't happen overnight, but it steadily progresses over the years. Certain medications can also harm the kidneys. Some drugs are toxic to kidney tissue and can interfere with normal filtering function if used improperly or for too long. Infections are another risk. In some cases, untreated bacterial infections can travel from other parts of the body to the kidneys and cause serious damage. If not properly treated, this can lead to long-term kidney failure. Blood clots can also be responsible. If a clot travels through the bloodstream and becomes lodged in the kidney's filtering system, it can block blood flow and damage that area of the kidney. When any of these issues occur, the kidneys may start producing less urine, and waste and fluid begin building up in the body. Electrolyte levels can become unbalanced, which may affect the heart, muscles, and nervous system. Too much potassium or phosphorus, for example, can become dangerous. The kidneys also produce hormones that help regulate blood pressure, So when they are damaged, blood pressure can rise even further, creating a dangerous cycle where high pressure causes more kidney damage and kidney damage raises blood pressure even more. That's why kidney health and cardiovascular health are closely connected. Damage in one system often affects the other. The difficult part is that early kidney damage usually has no clear symptoms. It can develop silently for a long time without noticeable signs. In some cases, people only realize something is wrong when urine color changes or other serious symptoms appear. In early stages, kidney disease may go unnoticed. Over time, especially in conditions like diabetes, the damage slowly builds. The kidneys can compensate for a while because there are so many filters, but once enough of them are lost, symptoms begin to show. At that point, urine may change color, becoming darker than normal, and in severe cases, it may even appear brown or contain traces of blood. That is usually what leads someone to seek medical attention. A doctor will typically order blood tests, urine tests, and sometimes imaging scans like ultrasound or MRI to evaluate kidney function. In more detailed cases, special dye tests may be used to examine how well blood is flowing through the kidneys. Based on these results, treatment decisions are made. Often, a kidney specialist, known as a nephrologist, is involved to help manage the condition and slow or reverse progression where possible. If kidney damage becomes severe, treatments like dialysis may be required. Dialysis is an artificial filtration process that cleans the blood when the kidneys can no longer do it effectively. In the most advanced cases, a kidney transplant may be necessary, where a healthy donor kidney replaces the damaged one. All of this shows just how critical kidney function is for life itself. When kidneys fail, it affects fluid balance, electrolytes, hormones, and overall body stability. Now, bringing it back to what you can actually control at home, diet plays a major role in protecting kidney health. And the number one dietary step is reducing salt intake. High sodium levels force the body to retain more fluid and increase blood pressure. That added pressure puts extra strain on the kidney's filtering system, making it work much harder than it should. If your kidneys are already under stress, this extra workload can accelerate damage. So lowering salt isn't just a general health tip, it directly reduces pressure on your kidneys and helps protect the delicate filtering units from further injury. Throughout this video, the Nutrium Lab emphasizes that protecting kidney function is not about one single change, but about understanding how deeply connected your kidneys are to your blood pressure, metabolism, and overall internal balance. Taking care of them early makes a significant difference in long-term health. Think about the force needed for filtration inside your kidneys. It's a bit like turning on a kitchen faucet. When the water is on low, you just get a small, gentle stream. But when you turn it up high, it becomes a powerful, forceful jet. That's what high salt or high sodium does in the body. It increases the pressure of blood flow, and for kidneys that are already struggling, that extra pressure can make the damage even worse. That's why controlling salt intake is so important. You don't want to overload a system that is already under stress. Now, when we talk about food, there are certain categories you really need to be careful with because they are often packed with hidden sodium. One of the biggest ones is ultra-processed food. These are things like packaged meals, canned soups, chips, salted snacks, and ready-to-eat foods. If you ever check the ingredient list on the back of these products, you'll often notice sodium or salt appears very early on the label, and that's usually a sign that the amount is quite high. Whether it's chips, tortillas, or pre-seasoned snacks, salt is heavily used because it enhances flavor and increases sales. Our taste buds naturally respond to it, so food companies rely on it heavily. Even frozen meals and microwave dinners tend to contain a lot of sodium. The reason is simple. They're designed to taste good and last longer on shelves. Salt also acts as a preservative, which is why it shows up so frequently in these foods. Pre-made seasoning mixes and spice rubs are another hidden source. Even things like barbecue rubs or marinades often contain a surprising amount of salt, because again, salt improves flavor instantly. Another major source of high sodium intake is restaurant food. In professional kitchens, chefs know that salt enhances taste, so it gets added generously during cooking and finishing. If you've ever watched food being prepared in an open kitchen, you might notice how often salt is sprinkled on dishes right before serving. That's why restaurant meals can easily contain far more sodium than home-cooked food. In fact, many restaurants introduced low-sodium options on menus years ago. But even then, salt levels can still be quite high. If someone has kidney problems, it's important to actively request low sodium preparation or ask the kitchen to reduce or avoid added salt as much as possible. Because the more salt you consume, the harder your kidneys have to work. More sodium means higher blood pressure, and higher blood pressure forces more blood through the kidney's delicate filters. Imagine increasing water pressure through a system that's already damaged, it just adds unnecessary strain. So the first major dietary step for kidney support is simple: reduce sodium as much as possible. The second important adjustment is limiting red meat intake. While red meat is widely recognized as a protein source in the context of kidney disease, it can place additional stress on the body. A more plant-focused diet is generally easier on the kidneys and provides beneficial compounds like fiber and polyphenols. Plant-based proteins can also meet nutritional needs effectively, which is why people following well-planned vegan or plant-based diets can still maintain good health. The concern with red meat, especially when kidney function is reduced, is that it generates waste compounds such as uric acid and other metabolites like TMAO, trimethylamine N-oxide. These substances must be filtered out by the kidneys. When the kidneys are already weakened, processing additional waste makes their job even harder and can slow recovery. That's why reducing red meat can help decrease the overall burden on kidney filtration. However, shifting toward a plant-based diet also requires awareness, because not all plant foods are equally safe when kidney function is impaired. Some nutrients, especially minerals, can become problematic when they build up in the blood. One of the most important is phosphorus. Normally, kidneys help regulate phosphorus levels, but when kidney function declines, phosphorus can accumulate in the bloodstream. In fact, a large percentage of people with kidney disease experience elevated phosphate levels. This becomes dangerous because excess phosphate binds with calcium. When that happens, calcium is pulled out of the bloodstream and can start depositing in tissues and blood vessels. Over time, this can lead to hard mineral buildup inside the body. Even more concerning is where that calcium comes from. When phosphate levels are high, calcium is drawn from the bones, weakening them. This increases the risk of bone loss and conditions like osteoporosis, especially in older adults. At the same time, calcium phosphate deposits can build up inside blood vessels, making them stiff and less flexible. Instead of smooth, healthy arteries, you can end up with hardened, brittle vessels. This significantly increases the risk of cardiovascular problems, including heart attacks, because these deposits can crack or rupture under pressure. These mineral deposits can also affect other areas of the body, including the eyes, potentially impacting vision. Because of this, people with kidney disease need to be cautious with high phosphorus foods. These include many animal proteins like chicken, turkey, and pork. Dairy products such as milk and cheese are also high in phosphorus. Even some healthy foods like nuts, seeds, and especially Brazil nuts contain significant amounts. Unfortunately, many ultra-processed foods are also loaded with added phosphorus through preservatives and additives. This includes soft drinks, packaged baked goods, cookies, cakes, and fast food items like chicken nuggets. Another group of foods to be careful with are those high in oxalates. Oxalates are naturally occurring compounds that can form crystals in the body. In a healthy kidney, they are usually filtered out without much issue. But in damaged kidneys, they can contribute to inflammation and even form kidney stones. Kidney stones are extremely painful and occur when these crystals accumulate and harden inside the urinary system. Since the kidneys are located in the lower back, the pain can be intense and deeply uncomfortable. High oxalate foods include spinach, beets, beet greens, Swiss chard, almonds, potatoes, navy beans, and even dark chocolate. Many of these foods are otherwise extremely healthy because they contain antioxidants, fiber, and compounds that support heart health and blood flow. For example, spinach and beets help support nitric oxide production in the body, which relaxes blood vessels and improves circulation. However, when kidney function is compromised, these same beneficial foods can become problematic due to their oxalate content. That's why context matters. A food can be healthy in general, but still need to be limited when kidney disease is present. Another mineral to be cautious with is potassium. Potassium is essential for normal heart rhythm and muscle function. It helps regulate electrical signals in the heart. Without enough potassium, the heart can become unstable. But too much potassium is equally dangerous. When kidney function is reduced, the body may not be able to remove excess potassium efficiently, leading to a condition called hyperkalemia. This can disrupt heart rhythm and, in severe cases, become life-threatening. So overall, kidney health is deeply connected to how your body manages sodium, phosphorus, potassium, and waste products from food. When the kidneys are damaged, even normal dietary choices can have a much stronger impact, which is why careful food selection becomes so important. That's something that can turn into a real cardiac emergency. When your kidneys can't properly regulate potassium, the balance in your blood becomes unstable, and that directly affects your heart rhythm. Think of potassium like a carefully controlled system in your body. Under normal conditions, your kidneys fine-tune it to keep everything in balance. But if the kidneys are damaged, that control system weakens, and potassium levels can rise to dangerous levels through diet. So naturally, you might be asking, what foods are high in potassium? I'll go through them, but I want to be clear up front. Many of these are actually very healthy foods in general. The problem is not that they're bad, but that with kidney damage, your body may not be able to process them safely. For example, avocados are usually considered a great health food. They're packed with fiber and healthy fats, but they're also high in potassium. Bananas are another well-known source of potassium. Most people associate them with heart health, and that's true, but again, in kidney disease, they can become something you need to limit. Dried fruits are another one to watch carefully. When fruit is dried, all the water is removed, but the potassium stays behind. That means a small handful of raisins or dried apricots can contain the potassium of several pieces of fresh fruit. It becomes very concentrated very quickly. Potatoes, including sweet potatoes, are also high in potassium. Tomatoes are another surprising one, and something many people don't expect. Even citrus products like orange juice can be very potassium dense. For example, one tall glass of orange juice isn't just one orange. It can contain the potassium from multiple oranges all at once, and most people can drink that in seconds without thinking about it, which makes the load even more significant. The key point here is that potassium is essential for life. It plays a major role in muscle function, nerve signaling, and especially the electrical activity of your heart. You need it, but the balance has to be just right. Too little potassium can also cause serious problems. It can lead to low blood pressure, dizziness, numbness, or tingling sensations, muscle weakness, muscle cramps, twitching, and even severe fatigue. It can also cause constipation. Your nerves and muscles simply don't function properly without enough potassium. On the other hand, too much potassium, especially in the setting of kidney disease, is even more dangerous. This condition is called hyperkalemia, and it can trigger life-threatening heart rhythm disturbances. People with high potassium may experience palpitations, irregular or fluttering heartbeats, chest pain, shortness of breath, nausea, or vomiting. In severe cases, it can lead to sudden, dangerous rhythm changes like ventricular fibrillation. The scary part is that you might not feel anything until it becomes an emergency. That's why hospitals rely on blood tests to detect it quickly when someone with kidney issues comes in. So again, foods like bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes, spinach, watermelon, and even white beans are all naturally high in potassium. In fact, a single serving of white beans can contain more potassium than a banana. But here's an important reminder. This is not about permanently avoiding these foods. It's about timing and context. If your kidneys are damaged, you temporarily reduce or limit these foods so your body has a chance to recover and your kidneys are not overloaded. That idea is really important. Food is not just good or bad. It depends on your condition. Some foods that are incredibly beneficial in normal health situations may need to be restricted during kidney disease so the body can stabilize and heal. This is especially critical because kidney disease is often linked with diabetes. In fact, diabetic kidney disease has a specific name, diabetic nephropathy. It simply means kidney damage caused by long-term diabetes. In this condition, the kidney's filtering system begins to fail. Instead of holding on to important proteins in the blood, the damaged filters allow protein to leak into the urine. This is called proteinuria. When protein is lost in the urine, the blood loses its ability to hold fluid properly. As a result, fluid starts leaking out into surrounding tissues. That's why people can develop swelling in the ankles and legs, where gravity pulls fluid downward. In more serious cases, this fluid buildup can occur in the lungs. When that happens, it's called pulmonary edema, and it becomes a very dangerous condition because fluid interferes with breathing.